Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into a week 2 edition of Parlay with the G's. I'm stoked to be joined again with Connor Rutledge, Las Vegas Raiders Nation faithful, and we also have Katia here today, Minnesota Vikings faithful. Katia, let's just begin with you here. Week 1, I know we were talking about the Vikings in the NFC North. All of us also picked the Vikings to beat the Bucs as well. And then last night we got to see them against the Eagles. How's the pulse feeling right now in Minnesota?
I mean, what's weird is that I think in general, people are actually more optimistic after last night than they were Monday morning. Sunday really took the wind out of our sails. It was just not a good situation. Making Baker Mayfield look like a superstar never feels great as a Vikings fan. And then just then going into a short week makes you feel even more terrified for your squad. But I think the defense really turned it around and saw really nice sparks of great moments. And then, coming back from last year, Thursday Night Football and the Eagles, where we got absolutely destroyed, to seeing last night us really staying in the game, and then really having, even in the fourth quarter, opportunities to win the game was an exciting thing. We do have a really tough schedule going down the rest of the season, so it sucks that we're 0-2 because we really needed at least one of those.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a good thing too. Like, there is that sense that you can be battle tested. So Bucks, I think people were underestimating them going into that first game. They were 6-point underdogs, but they're proving to, have a solid defense. We'll see what comes. It's still early. But also getting a chance to play the Eagles again in Philadelphia, that's definitely going to battle test you before you get into some of these NFC North division games. My thing with Minnesota is just the defense is suspect. We're looking at last year letting up 24 against the Eagles. This year, you're letting up 34 points as well. Not too many concerns. Like, I think their offense can go toe-to-toe with any team in the league, but that blown coverage on Devontae Smith, and even at the end of the game there where, you're down within a touchdown under 2 minutes and DeAndre Swift just rips off that run to close that game. I think the closing defense is something to keep an eye on.
We're just making so many small football errors that has been consistent with the Vikings for the past couple of years. And so as a fan, that's like extremely frustrating to see that we can continuously not figure that out. KJ Osborne had a great touchdown last night, but in between that, he also did not catch a lot of like really easy balls, had a fumble, had an interception. It was just a lot of not great things. One of our hosts on our Viking show made a really good point this week, and he said the Vikings play to the level of the competition that they're playing. I think that makes a lot of sense for that squad. And we saw it this week.
Yeah, well, hey, it's early in the season, only 2 games in. We got 15 left to go. Anything, of course, can happen. But when I turned on ESPN this morning and they're saying that Kirk Cousins is a good fit for the Jets, we'll see how the rest of the season plays out.
Yeah. And that's such clickbait, but I get why I'm saying it. Yeah.
All right, Connor, let's check in on Raider Nation. You had that story last week. You were talking about why you picked the Raiders over the Broncos. So you get that win there, 17-16. What was your takeaway from that game?
My takeaway is that we still own the Broncos. As long as Josh Jacobs and Devontae are on the team, doesn't matter who's the quarterback. We're going to still beat them every week. But it was good. I thought the defense played all right. There were some times where I couldn't believe that we gave up some big plays here and there, but everybody week 1 kind of had that moment, I think. I think our offense played for the most part pretty well for a week 1 game, but I think there's a lot more to show from them. So overall, I was pretty content with the win. It's good to see that we actually closed it out. But we always win those close games. We never win the ones that were up 17 points going into the fourth quarter for some reason.
Oh, especially against the Chiefs on a Monday night. You got to be concerned with something like that. Yeah, so I mean, going forward, tough matchup this week against the Bills, but good to see the Raiders come off a strong preseason. That was the word on them. And then to come out and get a divisional win in the AFC West, that was a good start to the season. Quick check-in on the Cowboys. I mean, I tried to tell you guys, when you came on last week and you both were on Giants Island, I tried to tell you I have a pulse on certain teams. Like there's just certain teams when you play them, we're good against them or not. But hey, I mean that was over before it started. So
I'm
I'm
excited
just,
to hear your take this week.
I got a pulse on my team. So I'm just saying. Let's recap really quick. In the spread category last week, I took that with 9 total. Connor, you and I tied with 10 over-unders. And then I took the money line category with 8. For my parlay, 4 for 6, hit the Ravens, Commanders, Jaguars, and hit the Cowboys money line. Unfortunately, lost on that Titans Saints over 41. Extremely pissed about that. I think I'm going to stay away for over-unders for a long time. And then also, what did I tell you, that Bengals game, it's kind of like Cowboys Giants. The Bengals just somehow, it's something about the Browns. It seems like they're kryptonite, but I'm going to start paying attention to some divisional matchups. Connor, you had 3 for 5 with your parlay. You hit San Francisco 49ers, lost on the Vikings -6. You got the Raiders on the money line. You got the Dolphins on +3. And Cardinals kind of kept it interesting later in that game, and they covered that 7 points. So something to keep an eye out on there. Katia, 2 for 3 for your parlay. You hit the Packers, you hit the Raiders. Unfortunately, Vikings couldn't cover that 6 points. Survivor, everyone's still Survivor going into week 2 here. Connor, you had the Ravens against the Texans. Katia, you and I picked the Commanders, and luckily they squeaked that out against the Cardinals. So let's venture on over here into week 2, and let's kick it off now. First game we got here, this is a Sunday morning set, 1 o'clock on the East Coast. The Chiefs, they're going to play the Jaguars. This is a rematch of what we saw recently in the playoffs this past year in the divisional round. Kansas City is a 3-point favorite in this matchup. The over-under is 51. The Chiefs lead this series 9-6 all time. And just a quick check-in on Travis Kelce. I read something really recently that said he ran in practice. He feels like he might be able to go, but we'll just keep seeing how practice goes this week. So still undecided on Travis Kelce for this game. Connor, why don't we begin with you here in the AFC West? How do you see this Jags-Chiefs matchup faring out in Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think as long as the weather is not rainy, I think that the over is in play, especially if Kelsey's playing. And I did see a video today of him pretending to fake the knee injury and then doing the whole little twerking dance. So it seems like he's in good spirits with the knee. But I would say Chiefs -3 with the over and a Chiefs win.
All right, so Connor likes the Chiefs in this matchup. He also likes the over as well. Katia, how do you see this one playing out in Jacksonville?
Definitely note on the weather for sure, but I think if it is nice, definitely the over on this one. Calvin Ridley had an unbelievable game last weekend, and I think this is going to be a really, really fun matchup just in general. Gives Trevor Lawrence kind of an opportunity to make his mark of I am going to be like a great young quarterback going up against Patrick Mahomes. So Chiefs -3. Chiefs win over for sure on this one.
All right, it is my chance to fade each of you on this matchup right here. I just did a quick weather check. It's looking like 30% chance of showers, also likely thunderstorms. So that's definitely relevant, especially when it comes to betting. I know in recent memory, there was a freezing game on a Monday night between the Patriots and the Bills. Players could barely catch a ball. So that definitely affects your over-under there. For this one, as of right now, if I'm looking at that Chiefs team from last week and I'm looking at how the Jags came out against the Colts, Jags are kind of a hot team right now, and they look like they can go toe-to-toe with anyone. So when I see that 3 points, I think if the Jaguars did lose, it would be by no more than a field goal. So Jaguars +3 in a situation like this. I came up with the score of 28-24 Jacksonville for this one. So that'll put me over the 51. And I'm going to go against you all on this week. I think the Jags can pull this out.
All right.
So get a little spicy. I'm not saying long term, and also with Travis Kelce's health, that's a huge difference for a matchup like this. Happy to see that they're getting Chris Jones back, but I think the Jags they're kind of hot right now. It's a regular season game. This isn't a playoff environment that we're talking about. It's in Jacksonville, so I'm gonna roll with Duval Nation on a game like this.
That's
all
true.
Right. Let's go next up here. Connor, we got your Raiders, and they're traveling to the East Coast, going to go to Ralph Wilson and play the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo favored by 8.5 points in this matchup. The over-under is 47. The series is actually tied all time, 21-21. So Connor, why don't we begin with you here? How do you see this one playing out in Buffalo for your squad?
Yeah, I think I'm a big believer in Buffalo as a team and just in general. I think that last week was tough to watch on Monday night against the Jets, or I should say this week. But, I hate to say it. I think Buffalo is going to take this game. I like the line being not quite too high, but more than a touchdown. And I think that that's something the Raiders can do well. I like Raiders covering the spread, the points. I do have it under. I think it's going to be a slower game. Raiders are going to try to run the clock, run the ball. So I think it's going to be under 46 or 46.5. And then, but Buffalo winning. And I'd say this is also a hot one for a teaser to tease the under further and the Raiders to get a better, nice cushion.
Connor, what would it take for the Raiders to beat Buffalo? What do you, in a matchup like this?
They're going to have to score first or score early. They're going to have to get some sort of a lead, or at least like keep pace early on, and then they're going to have to win the turnover battle. If they can do that, I think that they have enough juice in them and enough star power to beat their defense. The Jets with Zach Wilson were able to expose them enough. Obviously, defense is great on New York, but the defense can win a couple turnovers and then obviously not give up any huge plays that were just busted coverage. I think the offense has the juice to pull through. It'd be close. I think they would win by a field goal or something.
Yeah, and we'll see. And we'll continue to follow Jimmy G as we go along this season. New quarterback. 17 points, nothing to skyrocket about in week one, but a win's a win. And let's see if that offense can improve. Katia, what about you? How do you see this one playing out in Buffalo on Sunday?
Yeah, we're on the same page on, the first two picks. But yeah, I also have Raiders +8 under. Just in general, going into that Bills Mafia territory is always just a tough game in general. And then you've got Bills Mafia, nice weather unless it's rainy, but not cold yet. I think it makes it actually a little bit more difficult. I'm taking Bills on this one though.
Yeah, let's check in really quick on this weather in Buffalo on Sunday. Chance of showers as well, low of 55, but still same as Duval. Maybe we get some rain on the East Coast this weekend. So Katia, to revisit, you got Raiders covering that 8 points. You like the under as well, and Buffalo to win a close one?
Yes.
All right. So for me, I think that 8.5 jumps out right away. Right now, the Raiders they're looking competitive. Coming off of preseason, how they came out against Denver. Honestly, watching that Monday night game, I was really underwhelmed with Buffalo. I saw a lot of mistakes. Their run defense was definitely looking suspect against the Jets, letting off big rips that they had. Offense did not look in sync to me. I don't know. For some reason, it was like with their receivers, Diggs was their only option. I didn't see a lot of spread of the ball there, a lot of multiple weapons.
That part is interesting to me because I was curious if I agree with you that they were kind of forcing it to Diggs. And is that a little bit of that locker room situation where Diggs has been very vocal about needing and wanting the ball more? That kind of felt like it was that situation and some disconnect with him and Josh.
Oh, for sure. When you get off-season drama with Josh Allen and also with Diggs as well, and it's blatantly public that Diggs is not happy and he's frustrated with the situation, I think if you're Josh Allen, you want to make that a point right away. We need to get Diggs the ball early, and we need to make him happy in a game like this because he's a huge key to our success. Having said that, how the game actually played out, Buffalo put up 16 points in that game, and they weren't air raiding it. I'm not seeing Gabe Davis bombs from Josh Allen, Josh Diggs bombs. I haven't seen this new kid, Kincaid, in the end zone yet, Knox as well. So I don't know. Buffalo's offense just looked a little suspect to me on Monday. And for 8.5 points in a situation like this, I think that's too much when I just have that off the top. So Raiders in a cover situation like this, but I'm going to be different than each of you all. I don't know how good the Raiders defense is, and Connor will continue to monitor this, but with Buffalo, I think they're capable of getting back on track and scoring this week in Ralph Wilson. So I'll give him 26 points. I'll give the Raiders 23 points in this matchup. So I'll take the over. We all have the Bills winning. We all have the Raiders covering, but I'll take the over in this situation.
I think it just also depends on if Josh Allen tries to force any deep bombs, because I forget what his name was, but 3 picks off Josh Allen and then a fumble later. It was just a sloppy game from him. So if he, buttons it up, it's going to be harder. But if he's a little sloppy or trying to force it, I think some of our experienced corners and safeties will be able to pick that.
And Josh Jacobs he struggled on Sunday. Yeah, they couldn't really get him going.
That's true. Yeah, he had a harder time. I mean, the Broncos are always a pretty solid defense with Pat Surtain on Devontae Adams, kind of shadowed him pretty well towards the end. And then, Josh Jacobs, was fighting for every yard. So I think this week's going to be a little bit better based on what we saw the Jets do to the defense from a run game. But yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out.
No, honestly, and like with the Raiders too, you have one of the best backs in the league. And if the O-line can play really well, who cares? They don't need to be winning games 30, to 27, or if they're winning games 17 to 16, they can run the ball, they can control the clock, and their defense can step up and manage a game. They're definitely capable of winning a game like this. So, that's what a lot of this stuff comes down to. It's definitely a league of matchups and a how you're playing in that Sunday, how you play that scenario. So if the Raiders can really improve on that solid run game, Jimmy G, game manager, not too flashy, but he's known to win a lot of games. And the Raiders can, limit Josh Allen. And if he continues to make mistakes, I think this week we can kind of tell the cat's out of the bag. He acknowledged it as well. He's like, same shit, different day. I was going to send you guys a meme this week. It was talking about parlays, and it used the Josh Allen clip. And it's like, when you lose 3 out of 5 of your fucking parlay, same shit, different day. I'm still right back here in the same situation. All right, let's travel next up. We're going to go to Detroit. We'll head west a little bit. We got the Seahawks coming to town to go play the Lions. Lions coming off a good not home opener, but a season opening win against the Chiefs. Detroit, they're favored by 5 points in this matchup. The over-under is 47.5. The Seahawks lead the series 12-5 all time. Last year, we saw a thriller between these two teams. The Seahawks won 48-45. Geno Smith and Goff were absolutely make it rain in that game. Katia, let's begin with you. How do you see this one playing out in Detroit?
I really hate to have to even talk about this game because I think that the Lions are real. No, I'm not on that bandwagon yet. But I think that they 100% take this game, especially, the Seahawks losing to the Rams. DK really struggled. Geno was forcing things on Sunday. And then on top of it, they lost both their offensive tackles on Sunday's game. So they're just beat up. And then, Detroit does have a nice home field advantage too. And they're hot. So I'm taking Lions -6. I'm taking the under on this, and Lions win.
Oh, especially as a Vikings fan too, I think this is that foe that really catches your eye too, especially in that division. Just how good are the Lions? That's something that we have to monitor this year.
Well, they're jumping, and just the ability for them to jump ahead in the division as we're 0-2. It's going to be, I hate this. I hate this game.
All right, so we're keeping an eye on the Seahawks. Hopefully they got some magic. They can crunch in on the Lions in this one. Connor, how do you see this one playing out in Detroit?
Yeah, I'm kind of buying in on the Lions a little bit more, just based on what they did this first week. Obviously, there was a lot of issues with the Chiefs and their receivers and just no help for Mahomes. But I think I saw enough that I like taking Detroit with the points. I think Seattle also has a bounce back week compared to that atrocious loss to LA last week. So I do like the over in this game as well. And I think obviously Lions winning with points with the over. That's where I'm standing.
Yeah, I don't know too many people that picked the Rams to beat the Seahawks last week, especially without Cooper Kupp. But that was just one of those games in that afternoon set that's going to shoot your parlay. I don't know anyone that picked the Rams to beat the Seahawks last week.
Yeah, I don't either.
So, but here, look, with Seattle, you just came out with a loss at home against the Rams. You're traveling over to Detroit. Like, you're a playoff team as of last year. Let's not slip too far here. Let's try to get back on track here. The thing is, though, I just think the Lions are a better team right now than the Seahawks are. across the board. So with a 5-point swing, I would take Seattle to cover a spread like that with the +5 or +6 in a situation like this. We talked about last year, the final score was 48-45. So play the over in a situation like this with the 47.5, especially because it's in a dome in Detroit and on turf. But Lions to win this one, 28-25. Good NFC matchup, though, and this very well could be a playoff game this year. But as of right now, I'm rolling with each of you. Lions to win this one. Okay, let's go next up here. We're going to go down south, and we got the Chargers. They're coming to the east to play the Titans in an AFC matchup. The Chargers are favored by 3 points in this matchup. The over-under is 45.5. The Chargers lead the series 29-18 all time. Katia, let's begin with you. I know the Titans didn't give me all the points I wanted last week, but do you think there's a chance they beat the Chargers this week at home?
Yeah, that was interesting because the Titans, what was encouraging about the Titans and potentially going over on this game is that Derrick Henry is still an unbelievable talent, had no steps wrong on that. But Tannehill really struggled on Sunday, which was interesting, and really couldn't connect with DeAndre Hopkins. So there's definitely a lot of weapons on that team, but it just wasn't working out. Chargers had a great game on Sunday. Obviously they lost to Miami, but they had that was a really fun game. I think
I'll say matchup of the week. What'd I say?
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. So played an up-tempo offense there. I think the over is a safe-ish bet here if Tannehill can kind of figure out this week what went wrong, and really kind of connect with his receivers a little bit more. I'm taking the Chargers to win this and the Chargers to cover.
All right, so Katia likes Bolt Gang on this one. Connor, how do you see this one playing out in Tennessee?
Yeah, I'm 100% agreeing with her on this one. I think we saw enough from the Chargers last week to just lost in a shootout to Miami. But I think the Chargers, they have all the means in the world to steamroll the Titans. I think it could, be a slower start potentially, just depending on how well the Titans defense starts out. But I think that there's no issue with the Chargers covering the points here on this one. I do have, remind me again what the over was for this, over under?
45.5.
Right
on the nose.
Yeah, I'm going to lean over because I hate betting unders unless I really believe in it. And I just think that the Titans are going to they've had to have figured out a little bit of their woes from last week to at least get some more points on the board. So I could see it, just passing the over, but it's going to be close.
All right, so Katia and Connor are both on Bolt Gang for this week. They like the Chargers. I was watching that game, that's in my parlay. So I'm watching this on Red Zone last week. And this was a fucking field goal trade-off fest in the first half. Titans, it's not like they weren't in the red zone. They were in the red zone, it seemed like every drive. And it seemed like the Saints were in the red zone every drive too there. Everything was just settling in field goals. Tannehill with 3 interceptions last week. I feel like his time's ticking. I used to be more of a Tannehill believer in recent years, but I'm sort of falling off that bandwagon and losing trust for Tannehill. I think he's got to step up his game. And, they drafted Malik Willis 2 years ago. And this past year, they drafted Will Levis out of Kentucky. So I feel like they're looking for a replacement there in Tennessee. However, they just haven't really found it yet for the Titans. The Chargers, they seem like a strong team for sure. I mean, the way that they came out last week, it's not bad Chargers. It's just suspect defense, especially with their secondary letting up that many points. And I think I heard it was something like they only played man 20% of the time against Tyreek Hill, but the times that they did play it, they got burned on some different occasions. So in a matchup like this, I think the Chargers are the better team. We just have to factor in the environment that they're going into in Tennessee. But I'm off the Titans bandwagon right now. They got to earn that trust back. So I'm with you guys. Chargers, take the 3 points, play over 45.5. And I would take the Chargers to win a game like this, 26-21 in Tennessee.
It'll be interesting to see if and when they kind of turn to Will Levis with the Titans.
Yeah, well, see, I just don't know how good he is. And, he fell too, and he fell out of the first round. So that shows you what a lot of NFL teams thought about him, that he fell to the Titans, like he did. I am interested as well. Is he ready? I think Tannehill, he's a seasoned veteran, kind of like I put him in the category of Jimmy G, like good game manager. He can be a good game manager in the NFL. It's not going to skyrocket for you. But if he's throwing 3 interceptions, that's not game manager. Now you're becoming a liability for the team. And, who's going to step in there? So just mistake free. That's what they got to do to win. Run the ball really well with Derrick Henry. Tannehill can't make as many mistakes and they can compete because their defense is pretty solid. But I don't know. It's the flashlight's on him now. The spotlight's on him. But yeah, we'll see, Katia. I mean, if he does keep making mistakes and it is looking bad, I think, maybe you got to give Levis a spin and see if he can turn their fortunes around.
Yeah.
All right. This is a good matchup that we got here. And we're getting back. We were talking about Bengals Browns, but also the Ravens Bengals have recent history too. And there is one team that is pretty good recently in these matchups. But I'll leave this to you all to see what you think. Bengals are favored by 3 points in this matchup. The over-under is 46.5. The Ravens lead this series 28-27 all time. Connor, let's begin with you in your conference of the AFC. How do you see this one playing out in Cincinnati?
Yeah, Cincinnati's at home. I think that, they have a lot to prove after that just horrible loss last week. They got humiliated, and I think they were well aware of that. So, I think that they are familiar with Baltimore. Obviously, Baltimore's a little bit healthier with some more weapons, but I just think Cincinnati's going to come back, and it's a statement game for them. So I think that they're going to cover the points. I think it's going to be at least high scoring from Cincinnati. We saw that Baltimore could figure it out. It was a slow start last week, but they were able to figure it out and cover against the Texans. So I think that overall, both teams are going to be scoring effectively, and that it's going to be a Cincinnati win with the over covering the points.
All right, Connor likes the Bengals this week. I liked the Bengals last week too, until I got fucked at the drive-through. Katia, how do you feel about this one for week 2?
My fantasy quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, had a really fun week last week. It was awful.
Hit that waiver wire, baby. No.
Oh my God. Seriously. It's rough out here. I mean, obviously, like you said, Bengals have a lot to prove. Ravens also have a lot to prove though here. Lamar had 2 fumbles and an interception. It's just off step. He's coming off that big contract. He has a lot to prove. They lost J.K. Dobbins. Mm-hmm. Rookie Zay Flowers though was kind of like the shining moment, I thought, for the Ravens on Sunday. And I think there's going to be a nice little moment with OBJ finally doing like a big flashy return. And this would be like the perfect game for him to do it in. So I'm going to take the over. I do think the Bengals will bounce back on offense, or I hope they do for my sake. And I'm going to take Ravens plus 3.5.
All right. So Katia, who do you have winning this game?
Oh, Ravens.
All right. Flock Nation. So we got two separate sides of the island. Connor, you think Bengals can bring it back this week? Katia, you think Ravens still have something to prove? They'll get this done as well. Which way shall I lean? Katia, I'm going to roll with you on this one, especially as of last week. Bengals, you lost my trust. I came out that 2.5 points just looked so appetizing, especially against the Browns, but you come out and lose 24. I think it was like 24-3. That was an ugly one to start the season. Watch out for the Ravens. I just have this vision in my head, like Roquan Smith is on their team, and that to me is a Super Bowl linebacker, and that's a good defense. I think they have what it takes to go all the way. Granted, they did lose J.K. Dobbins, but I think they have some good backups with Hill and Edwards as well, so they can fill that void. I like the Ravens in this spot. I was going to mention in recent history, the Bengals have won 4 out of the 5 last matchups. So Bengals are actually pretty good at beating the Ravens. But as of right now, I can't roll with the Bengals this week after they let me down. Connor, if they prove you right, that'll be good for you. But I'll take the L on this one if I have to. Baltimore +3 over 46.5, and the Ravens to win this one in a close one, 27-24.
All right. Selfishly need the Bengals to go off for fantasy purposes as well, especially Joe Mixon. So maybe a little bias.
So Connor, you got Mixon, Katia, you got Burrow on your fantasy team.
Yeah.
All right. I'm thinking
And
about
I have T Higgins too. So I've got like the combo.
I'm look, there was one year, I think it was in 2021, I picked the Ravens to win, and the Bengals came out and put up like 48 points on the Ravens. So, they can splash it, especially with that offense. Maybe it was the rain last week. I don't know. Maybe Joe Burrow needed a wake-up call, but I think we're definitely due for a better one here in week 2. All right, let's go next up here. We're going to jump over to the NFC. We have those Green Bay Packers. They're going to play the Atlanta Falcons. I'm pretty sure all of us picked the Packers to win last week against the Bears. Katia, I also know you had them in your parlay. Atlanta is actually favored by 1.5 points in this matchup, having come off their win against the Panthers. The over-under is 40.5. It said seen this week that Aaron Jones was stretching with the team, and also Christian Watson was as well, both with hamstring injuries, but we probably won't know till game time, kind of like Travis Kelce, if they're going to play this week. The Packers lead this series 19-16 all time. So Katia, let's begin with you here. How do you see this one playing out in Atlanta?
Yeah, I hate picking these division games because it just goes against what I don't want to happen. But I think there's part of me that really, really wanted to take the under on this, hoping that it would be a low scoring Falcons win. But I think I have to take the over on this. Jordan Love, if he has his receiving core not banged up, did look pretty good. That being said, the Falcons and the secondary looked pretty good on Sunday as well. So I think I am going to take the over on this, and Falcons to cover the points. Falcons are going to win. I have to say it. I can't keep the Packers.
What makes you think that the Falcons are going to win this game?
I think, Bijan Robinson looks like a real deal for sure. They not that the Panthers are anything to write home about, but they definitely prove that they're a better team in what I thought would be like a closer game. And this is kind of a similar matchup. Obviously, look at the spread that Vegas thinks this is going to be a close game. And I think they can pull it off.
All right, Katia likes the Dirty Birds in this one. Connor, how do you feel about this one in Atlanta this week?
Yeah, I'm so indifferent, and because I was moving last week and I didn't get to watch all of the games, and so this was both of these teams I really didn't get to see too much from when I was in front of a TV. Injuries aside, I do have on my paper here, or my phone, digital paper, Packers to cover with the over and a Green Bay win. I just think, again, they're better coached. They have better tenure and experienced players. Atlanta has a couple of new flashy toys that, were exciting to watch last week and hear about. But I think this is one of those upsets. I think that Green Bay comes in and I think they're able to squeak it out. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means, but I think that Green Bay wins something like 23-20.
Connor, you and I, we have telepathy, like is that crystal ball. We were thinking the same. I'm going to go ahead and speak with some confidence here. I have no idea why Green Bay is an underdog in a matchup like this. I'm not that high on Atlanta. Yeah, you put up 24 last week, but I think, for why Connor, you and I were on the Panthers last week, they kind of showed us, at least to start off, that they're not who we thought they were. And I think, Atlanta, that was a good win, but that was against the Panthers. Packers, pretty impressive. They came out. I know there's some questions about Jordan Love, but he looked to be fine last week, and he was hitting Dobbs and other receivers as well, making plays. Aaron Jones went off last week as well. I know he's got a hamstring injury, but fantasy-wise, he put up the most points by any running back last week. Katia, I know you had the Packers. I'm looking at both organizations. I have memory as well of Packers beating the Falcons in the playoffs in Atlanta. For me, I think the Packers are a better organization than the Falcons, and I wouldn't flinch on one like this. I was glad to see the Packers put up 38 points last week. So Green Bay plus 1.5, over 40.5, and Green Bay to win 24-20. This is a consideration for my parlay this week in this matchup. But we'll see. Like Atlanta has potential. If they run the ball well, I like Algier. I think he's one of the best RB2s in the league. He's proven that he can get in the end zone. But I like Jordan Love more than Ritter right now, and Packers for me on this one. All right, let's go next up here. Speaking of the Chicago Bears, that was an ugly one last week against the Packers, but now they get a second chance to go and play the Bucs, who took out Katia's Vikings last week. Tampa Bay is favored by 2.5 points in this matchup. The over/under is 41. The Bears lead this series 40-21 all time. So we're going down here to Tampa. Katia, how do you see this one playing out for Bears?
Yeah,
Bucs?
I'm definitely gonna be watching this one on Sunday. Obviously because division game, but at the same time, I also want to see how the Bears are matching up to the team that we just lost against, how terrible the Minnesota Vikings potentially are. Again, Justin Fields led the Bears in rushing, and he was kind of scrambling all over the place. They weren't really like attacking the middle here. I think I definitely need to take the under on this one. I don't think it's going to be all that of an exciting game, to be completely honest. But the Bucs to cover, Bucs to win.
All right, Katia learned from last week. She'll take the Bucs in this one. Also had a pulse in the NFC North on the Bears and the Packers. Connor, how do you feel about this one in Tampa?
There's one thing I've learned so far this short season start is that if a team gets blown out like the Bears did, or the Giants did, you don't take them the next week. So I'm taking Tampa with the points. I'm taking the under as well, and I'm taking Tampa to win.
All right, Connor, relax. We haven't gotten to the Giants yet, but you're scaring me a little bit this week. They're playing the Cardinals. Katia and also Connor as well. You guys both like the Bucs in this matchup. I'm going to pair some teams together. I think the Bears and I think the Broncos are really bad. I think we just need to come out and say it. Like, they both suck, and they're proving that to us year in and year out. I just hate watching games where offenses don't generate enough points. You can't put up points, especially in a professional. So, Tampa, I'm not with them all the way, especially with their quarterback situation. But Tampa's defense is honestly pretty good, and they were in the Super Bowl not too long ago. So they've got some playmakers and they've got some ballers. And Chicago's defense, for that franchise, usually you're known for your defense. But when you're letting up 38 points at home against the Packers to start the season, that kind of lets us know where your defense stands in a situation like this. So for me, Bucs with the 2.5 points, over 41 in this matchup, Tampa to win 26-17. So I'll be on another side of you all on the island on that over/under.
Taking the over.
Oh yeah, taking that over. Look, Chicago let up 38 points last week to the Packers. This game's in Tampa. Maybe we can have a defensive touchdown for the Bucs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not high on Chicago at all. So 26-17, that's the score that I had, barely over in this situation. All right, let's go next up here. We have the Indianapolis Colts. They're going to play the Houston Texans. Similar spread to what we talked about earlier with Packers Falcons. Houston is favored by 1.5 points in this matchup. The over/under is 39.5. The Colts lead this series 32-10 all time. So Connor, why don't we begin with you in this one? This is the AFC South that we have. How do you see this one playing out in Houston for these teams?
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a match that's going to be close. I think it's going to be two similar type teams trying to grow as a franchise and an organization from some rebuilding years. And I think that the Colts continue their streak. I think the Colts cover, they win. And I think the over, being a low over, is hit as well. I liked what I did get to see from Anthony Richardson last week, and I think the guy's got some playmaking abilities. At the very least, he's just a freak of nature to make some things happen. But I think we showed that Michael Pittman Jr. was also able to connect with him a lot and get open into some space. So I like the Colts. I'll ride with that. Lock it in.
All right, Connor likes the Colts in this matchup and also liked what he saw with Anthony Richardson from last week. Katia, do you agree that the Colts can take this one and cover as well?
I actually do. I'm not entirely sure why the Texans, I guess it must be their defense, why they're favored in this game. But I thought the Colts were actually like a surprising team on Sunday. I thought they'd be a lot worse. The one thing that's a little bit questionable, I know Anthony Richardson was a little bit banged up, I think, after that last game. So that is the only question mark. But same thing, I'm taking Colts win, Colts to cover. I'm going to take the under here, actually.
All right, Katia likes the under in this one. Let me get on the horse with you guys. You guys got a horseshoe? I mean, let's play some bocce ball here. You know, like Colts, let's take that horse train down there into Houston, Texas. Anthony Richardson thought he had one of the best touchdown celebrations, just to show you how athletic he was. Ran it into the end zone, jumped up, did a 360 dunk spike in the end zone. He's freaky. And, you know, Houston, if you pick Baltimore to cover that 10 points last week, they were keeping it interesting in the first half and then ultimately showed you in the second half they can't put up points, and Baltimore began to pull away there. Colts 1.5 points in this matchup. Katia, I agree with you, under 39.5. I see a little bit of a defensive struggle here. Also good to see the Colts. That was kind of a weird play, but get a defensive touchdown last week. DeForest Buckner took it to the house. So all in all, between these two teams, I think it'll be a close game, but Colts didn't win this one and to cover as well, 20-17. Houston has more things to work out. All right, let's go here to the afternoon set. This is 4:30 on the East Coast that we have, 1:30 on the West Coast. And we have the San Francisco 49ers. And this is an NFC West divisional matchup. They're going down to play the Rams, who just came off a win against the Seahawks. San Francisco, they're favored by 7.5 points in this matchup. The over-under is 44.5. The 49ers lead this series 77-68 all time. Katia, let's begin with you. How do you see this one playing out in SoFi?
Yeah, this is definitely interesting after what we saw on Sunday against Seahawks. I think Kittle's going to have a game for the Niners, though. Again, selfishly, I hope Kittle's having a game.
Yeah, that's a fantasy. Got him too.
That's a fantasy for sure. Purdy, he looked better than I think a lot of people are expected. They obviously had like a great kickoff to the game, 4 straight scoring drives on Sunday. McCaffrey still doing what McCaffrey does. And then the Rams, their defense still proves to be elite. So I think that's where it's going to make this game interesting. And you know, Pukanako, is that how you say his name?
BYU, baby.
Yeah. He showed up. So there's definitely some weapons on the Rams squad, and can't discount them a little bit. So I'm gonna take the over on this. What was it? Is it 7.5 or 8?
7.5.
7.5. I want to say the Niners cover. Yeah, I'm gonna go with it, and Niners win.
Bang, bang, Niner gang. Katia's on the Niners this week. Connor, how do you feel about this one? NFC West matchup in SoFi.
Man, I'm not gonna lie. The numbers, and I put my notes together, were slightly off from the numbers you are leading with here on this. So like I had SF -7, but knowing that it's 7.5. I think that the Rams could cover, but I'm going to go with my gut and say, you know, San Francisco is going to cover the spread at 7.5. The over is at a nice sweet spot where I think both teams have solid defenses that it could very well be low scoring. But if I recall, most of these games that they have, you know, 75% of the ones they played against each other are somewhat aggressive on the scoring path. So I'm going to bite my tongue and say over as well. Niners win, Niners cover. I'm riding this one, but I'm not confident.
No, me either.
And it's right on that nose there too. Sometimes you just get hit with a weird number. Like what's 7.5? What's 8.5 points? How do they determine this? A 1.5, basically, I think that's just telling you that that's a pick 'em in the computer's eyes when it's coming to a spread. What would make you feel good about the over is that both of these teams each put up 30 points last week. So at least they're showing that they can score some points. Cooper Kupp not back in for the Rams. He's going to help them out a lot if he is healthy and riding with them. Let me just say something. And like, I'm a Cowboys fan, so the Niners, I mean, that's our kryptonite. We can't get past them. Brock Purdy has not lost a game yet in the NFL that he's played all the way through. So, you know, especially last week with him getting called out, I saw that podcast about Patrick Peterson. You know, he threw it right at him for that Ayuk touchdown, and they rained on the Steelers in Heinz Field. Again, Bears, Steelers, historically really good defensive franchises, and they're making it rain on them in Pittsburgh. The Niners, I think they're one of the scariest teams in the NFL right now. That's a team that I don't want to play if I'm any team, especially the way that they came out. And the Rams, I think that was a surprising win. I definitely didn't pick them to beat the Seahawks last week, especially without Cooper Kupp. But I like the Niners' identity top to bottom way more than I like the Rams right now. So Niners to cover the 7.5 points, over 44.5, and the Niners to win a game like this, 30-20 in SoFi. Okay, let's go next up. Let's go next up here. We have those New York Giants that Connor is warning us about this week. They're going to play the Arizona Cardinals in Phoenix. It's fair. I mean, Giants put up 0 points last week. You know, the Cardinals, everyone's already writing them off, but it made it a little interesting against the Commanders. Giants, they're favored by 4 points. The over-under is 40. The Giants lead this series 80-46 all time. So, Connor, why don't we begin with you? How do you see this one playing out in Phoenix?
Yeah, Giants, I mean, they're on the road. They're going to Arizona. If it was at home, I'm sure the Giants would be favored by like 7 or 8 potentially, but they're on the road. I just can't. There was a stat, I saw something on Twitter this week that was, no team has, or it's been like so hard for a team to lose by a certain deficit of 40 or more. Just to suck that bad. There was like 6 categories, and they're like, the Giants did it all in one game. So like, it blows my mind how bad they were. I think they're going to have to obviously turn it around. I think they will to some degree, but the Cardinals also busted a lot of spreads when it came to the Commanders last week. So not to say the Commanders are great, but I think that the Cardinals cover at home is what I'm trying to say. So I'm taking Cardinals +4, taking the under though. It's definitely not going to be a high scoring game. I do think the Giants can win. So I will say the Giants win, but I think the Cardinals cover.
Yeah, Connor, this is the moment of truth here. We're on the money line here. Are the Giants winning this game or are the Cardinals winning this game?
The Giants are winning this game, but it's Cardinals cover.
All right. Hey, follow the covers too. Certain teams, they start to build a record for themselves about covering. Cardinals covered last week. Maybe they can do it again here. Katia, how do you feel about this one in Arizona?
Under. Just take the under. Just do it. Cardinals defense, like you guys said, actually looked pretty good against the Commanders. So I think it definitely will be a low scoring game. Cardinals to cover. And I initially had the Giants winning because I still am on this train that the Cardinals are very much tanking this entire season, doing it very blatantly obvious. But I think I'm going to take the Cardinals to win this one. Just give them one.
Katia, don't do that. I'm trying to survive all season. I can't die in week 2. This can't happen.
No, just give me one,
All right, so Connor likes the under. Connor also likes the Cardinals to cover the spread. Katia likes Cardinals to cover the spread and to win this game, but also playing the under. I'm going to agree with both of you. I think the under in a situation like this with Josh Dobbs at quarterback for the Cardinals, the Giants are, even though it didn't look like it, they're a better defense. Well, that's actually a tough statement to make. I think they're a better defense than the Commanders on any given day if they are playing well with Wink Martindale calling the shots there. But, in a matchup like this, I think this happens, guys. You have a bad day at the office. Sometimes we show up and shit is just fucked from the jump. I mean, Saquon Barkley catches a 5-yard out route, gets tackled, the ball pops up in the air and lands right in Bland's hands for a touchdown. Sometimes, it's screwed from the start, but I can't pick the Cardinals to win this game. I mean, come on. We're talking about the Giants who, go on a run last year. They're in the playoffs. They won a playoff game. You just paid Daniel Jones $40 million. I mean, he's getting paid $40 million this year. You think he can't go into Arizona and win this game?
That's my whole thing about the Giants. I think the Minnesota Vikings, everyone goes back to last year's playoffs, and I think the Minnesota Vikings and the Eagles both made the Giants look good. I don't think they're that good. I think our teams made them look good.
All right. Fair.
We'll see.
Hey, look, you guys sounded confident about the Giants last week. So all this confidence is gone here come week 2. Hey, look, I'll take this one. And I don't want to overthink this. I'm just looking at 2 teams right now. Yeah, currently stated as a week 1. It's very easy to get low on the Giants, but I'll take the Giants to cover the 4 points, under 40 in a matchup like this. Giants to win 24-14. Obviously eyeing this for Survivor. Come on, we got to follow the Cardinals this season. They're blatantly tanking. They don't want to win games. Any other rebuttal there, Katia?
No, I mean, that's what, like I said, I hate that I'm weirdly taking the Cardinals. I had the Giants written down. So this is just maybe like a Friday, let me switch my mode, because I really do think that they are blatantly tanking, but I'm going to stay true to what I said on camera.
From a Survivor point of view, it's like I'm with you on that. I thought about it. I didn't pick them for my pick this week just because I need to see the Giants at least do something that I know the Giants can do, because I saw a little bit of life. Well, I should say I heard on the radio when I was listening to a life of Josh Dobbs and the Cardinals, just enough that I think I wouldn't want to go out week 2 because I bet the Giants would beat the Cardinals. So
right.
Taking my pick elsewhere this week.
Hey, we got to follow the
Wait
pulse.
for my scenario thing.
It's the gut feeling. Sometimes that's all you got to follow. Your intuition lets you know everything that you need to know. And in Survivor, hey, maybe you're picking good teams or you're picking against bad teams, different philosophies. But you guys each like the Cardinals to cover, and Katia likes the Cardinals to win this week. All right, let's go. Let's go next up here. We got the New York Jets. They're going to play the Dallas Cowboys. Definitely an interesting matchup. Would have definitely been better if Aaron Rodgers was at quarterback. The Cowboys, they lead this series 7-5. Dallas is now favored by 9 points in this matchup. The over-under is 38.5. Connor, let's begin with you. Do you think the Jets fare well in Dallas in this one?
No, I think the Jets are crashing and burning. I think. I think seeing the Achilles snap in slow motion really did it for me. No, but like I said last week, jokingly, right? Like, who's going to have more interceptions, Dak or the defense, or like Trayvon Diggs? I think Dallas D put on a show.
I think it was Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dallas D just put on a show. I think that the Cowboys easily covered 9. I think I have the under just because I don't think the Jets are going to be able to score more than maybe 1 touchdown on this D, maybe a field goal, 10 max. I think that Dak still has to prove himself. He, for fantasy for me, was not great last week. I think the defense really just did everything that game, and then some running on the ground. So I don't think it's going to necessarily be, a 40-0 game. It could, but I think realistically it's somewhere around like 28-10, Dallas covering. So Cowboys cover, under, Cowboys win.
Well, I like what Connor says there, easily. That's that key word that I took away there. That makes me feel comfortable. I can feel safe right now, especially watching this game. I'm not in a panic. I might be panicking about the Giants right now based on how you were calling that. Connor, also one thing I want to mention as well, Mike McCarthy is taking over for the Cowboys. He wants to call the shots. And honestly, I think he's a pro-run coach versus airing it out and putting up a lot of stats for Dak like you had with Kellen Moore. So might be worth investing in a backup quarterback for your fantasy squad. Katia, how do you see this one playing out in Dallas?
So I'm with you on the under for sure on this. I think both defenses are the strong points in these squads. So there's no denying that. I think Dak's going to have a real tough day on Sunday.
Ooh.
I love an upset. So I'm picking the Jets to win. I'm not off my Jets train yet. I get it. Wilson looks pretty terrible, but I'm not off. Like, there's still so many really magical pieces on this squad that I'm going to believe in. So I'm going to take the Jets to win. and the Jets to cover.
All right, Katia, the question, how do you see the Jets winning this game? What does that look like?
I mean, I think there's multiple defensive scores here, whether that be like, I don't know. Right now I'm seeing a safety. I don't know why. Maybe just a safety and a pick six situation, and just getting Dalvin going too. Like he didn't look awesome. I didn't feel terrible on Sunday or on Monday watching Dalvin. Personally,
That's so Vikings of you.
It's so Vikings.
I think Breece Hall looked amazing coming off the ACL so quickly. Like, I think they just need to keep that guy fed. I mean, Dalvin looked good, when he was tired and everything, when Breece was tired. But yeah, I mean, I think this is Breece Hall's running back committee to own. Dalvin is a great, fill in, but I think he's going to be supporting Breece.
Yeah. Breece Hall is like a special player.
Right. I mean, running backs versus quarterbacks, it's only Dalvin's 8th year in the league, but we would consider him old at this point. And Aaron Rodgers now going into his 19th season. Longevity for quarterbacks, a whole lot longer than running backs. Katia, when I was watching that game last night, and shout out to Purple Banter, you all had your podcast going at Barney's and WeHo. I can't tell the difference between Madison and Cook. They look so similar to me, especially with the dreads. And I'm like, oh, is this like the new Dalvin Cook that you guys wanted? But I don't think he's the same player. I mean, Dalvin, especially watching Minnesota all those years, I mean, he's capable of going all the way. But yeah, Connor, I agree with you. I mean, Breece Hall, he's got that home run, capability. It was funny on the Manning cast, Eli made a joke that he's out of shape because he outran the dude and he got to the 20 and just kind of burnt down there.
I think it's both. I think also Garrett Wilson would have actually blocked. I mean, as a wide receiver, when I played in high school, I can tell like that was what I would get chewed out if I didn't do. And I just was watching that screaming, just block the guy. He's celebrating and then the guy passes up. And he's like, oh shit. But yeah, he would have had a touchdown if Garrett Wilson would have laid his body out and blocked for him. But
Aiden was still a nice run on that broadcast. He was like just throwing shots the whole night. I was like, damn, Peyton, like you're live.
A little chippy here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Connor, I don't know if you saw the Chase Claypool highlights from last week, but he basically just gave 0 fucks on every play.
I think you mean lack thereof.
All right, let me jump in here for this matchup. Cowboys are going to win this game. Let's not overthink this. I mean, if we're looking at 2 matchups, Cowboys O versus Jets D, that could be a stalemate situation. Jets D, I view them as one of the best defenses in the league. I picked them up for fantasy this year. Didn't pick the Cowboys, but they put up 45 points last week. So that was definitely impressive. But if we're looking at Jets O versus Cowboys D, you got to give the advantage to the Cowboys D there. I think with Zach Wilson, we need to see this. We need to see him come out and win a game in a pressurized situation like this. And as a Cowboys fan, and I mentioned this last night, we are always led by our offense, but in recent years, we're led by our defense. And that's a good situation to be in. If you have a really good defense, if you can run the ball, can control the clock, we can win a lot of games. We don't need it to be super flashy. But I can't roll with Zach Wilson and the Jets right now. I can roll with that defense, but I can't roll with him and I can't roll with that offense as long as he's the quarterback there. So Cowboys, if you're playing in this matchup, stack the box. Let's limit the run in a situation like this. Let's shut out Breece Hall. Let's shut out Dalvin Cook. And let's force Zach Wilson to make decisions and to beat us. I like the Cowboys in this situation, 26-16. That's slightly over 38 and a half points. And Dallas to cover that 9 points. Eyeing them this week. Katia, if the Jets win, I'll be the first to say fuck, and I'll make sure to text you that in all caps.
Oh my God.
All right, let's go next up here. We got the Washington Commanders. They're heading west to go play the Denver Broncos. Shout out to the Buffs, by the way. I don't know if anyone, my sister went to Colorado, but Colorado's popping off right now, especially with what Deion's got going on there. Denver, they're favored by 3.5 points in this matchup. The over-under is 39. The Broncos lead the series 8-7 all time. Connor, you are the Colorado native, so let's kick it off with you. How do you see this one playing out in Denver?
Yeah, I was kind of back and forth on this one. I think the spread is just over, sort of a pick 'em, but and Denver having home field advantage and the elevation, which is really no joke. I will say I'm giving Denver the advantage here. So I think it's Denver. Was it 3.5 or was the spread?
Three
Is
and
it
a
different
half.
than 3.5? Yeah. So Denver 3.5. They're covering that. I think it's an under game as well. But Denver wins.
All right, Connor likes the Broncos in this one. Katia, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, back to our earlier conversation, I think the Broncos just aren't a good team. So definitely the under on this one. Commanders D is their strongest point of their squad. I'm going to take Commanders to win, under, and Commanders to cover. I think this might be like a blowout.
All right, last week,
I
Chargers.
would love it if it is, but I just have to disagree with you for the betting portion.
Yeah.
Last week, Chargers Dolphins game of the week. This week, Commanders Broncos worst game of the week. I really hope they don't even put this on Red Zone. Not too much to say about this. Again, I just think the Broncos are bad until they prove me otherwise. Washington to cover the 3.5 points, under 39, and Washington to win this game 17-14. All right, let's go Sunday Night Football here. We're going to go to the AFC East. We have those Dolphins. They're heading north to play the New England Patriots. Miami, they're favored by 3 points in this matchup. The over-under is 46.5. Dolphins lead this series 60-55 all time. Katia, lead us off here. How do you see this one playing out in Foxborough?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It was a close spread, but I think Dolphins -3 and the under on this one, and Dolphins to win.
All right, Katia's on the Fins. Connor, do you feel the same?
Yeah, I'm riding with the Dolphins -3. I think the under. I think the Belichick effect is going to be real from a defensive standpoint. But the Dolphins are the Patriots' kryptonite. I think Dolphins win. They cover. It's a moderate scoring game, but it hits the under.
I don't think I forgot that each of you picked the Patriots to beat the Eagles last week. So keeping a little record tab of that one. Patriots definitely look, competitive in that one. Not able to get the win though. I'm going to ride with each of you all for this one. Miami to cover the 3 points, over 46.5. Miami to win 27-21 in this matchup. All right, let's go next up here. We have 2 games on Monday night. We're going to begin with the Saints. They're going to play the Panthers. Saints are favored by 3. The over-under is 40. Connor, let's begin with you. How do you see this one playing out in New Orleans?
I think that the Saints. I think the Saints cover this. I didn't get to watch the game last week for the Saints or the Panthers, but based on what I saw in highlights and things watching afterwards, I think that the Saints are able to find the end zone a little bit more effectively this week. Not a lot, but a little bit more effectively. And I think that the Saints cover, and that I have the under on this one as well. So a lot of unders for my picks this week, but Saints will win that. They'll cover. Low scoring game.
Katia, what say you?
Same. I'm actually pretty much across the board with you on this. I'm picking a lot of unders this week as well, but Bryce Young really struggled, was picked off twice on Sunday. The Saints have a nice little pass defense as well. So I think the Saints cover the under and Saints to win.
All right, I'll jump on here. Nothing to disagree about with each of you. The only thing I might consider here is when we get to the survivor section, maybe eyeing New Orleans there. New Orleans to cover the 3 points, over 40. New Orleans to win 24-17 on Monday night. All right, let's go to the AFC North. We have the Cleveland Browns. They're going to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cleveland is favored by 2.5 points. The over-under is 39. Katia, let's begin with you. How do you see this one playing out in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Browns cover. I'm actually going to take the under on this as well, and Browns to win. The Steelers started their Sunday game with three 3-and-outs. So the Steelers squad just isn't it this year. That's my initial very, very quick impression of the squad for this year. I might be too soon to say that, but I've just not seen it, and I think the Browns actually look good.
Yeah, I mean, rumored too to have a good preseason, looking good. Kenny Pickett and Niners come in there and steamroll them to start the year. Connor, how do you see this one playing out in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I actually have Cleveland winning this one again. I think they're going to ride the momentum. I didn't hear anything positive about Pittsburgh last week. I mean, they had one point like 1 total yard of offense in maybe like going to the halftime or something like that, if it was correct. So, obviously I like Kenny Pickett. I think he has a great potential to slip up and climb as a quarterback with his athletic ability. But man, there was nothing shown last week. I've got Cleveland -2.5. I've got the under. I've got a Browns win.
All right, so each of you have the under, each of you have Cleveland covering, and each of you have Cleveland winning. I'll take Cleveland to cover in this matchup. I'm actually going to take over, over 39 by a little bit. Cleveland to win this one 23-20. If Pittsburgh can prove us otherwise, we'll go check that out in week 2. But the one thing I want to say about Cleveland is if Deshaun Watson can play in his old form, watch out for the Browns, especially because this team is led by their defense. Let's keep an eye on them. All right, here we go. Parlays of the week. Let's craft up everything that we have here going through each game. Katia, I want to begin with you. What's your parlay for week 2?
Okay. Jets +9, Raiders +8, Dolphins -3. And then my money line, I'm rolling strong on this and I don't feel super confident, but I'm throwing the Jets money line in.
Woo! Jet life, one life, mistress
Jet
and a
life.
girlfriend. Katia,
Yep.
all on the Jets this week.
I'm on the
All right,
Jets.
I like it. All right, so big on the Jets this week, big on the Raiders. And can you mention the other 2 that you mentioned, Katia?
Raiders +8, Dolphins -3.
Dolphins against the Pats in the AFC East. Connor, what's your parlay looking like for week 2?
Yeah, so the similarities I have is I have the Raiders covering the spread. I have the Colts at +1.5. I've got the Chiefs -3.5, and then I have got the Dolphins -3, and Cleveland -2.5.
All right, so let's recap that really quick, Connor.
Yep. So Cleveland -2.5, Miami -3, the Chiefs -3.5, the Colts +1.5, and the Raiders +8.5.
That is a 5-team super AFC parlay that Connor just gave us. On board for that one. Katia, I don't know how confident you look there, but that's a 5-teamer there.
But if you want to make some money, let's roll.
All right, I'm going to go next up here. Let's keep it simple this week. Lost on over under. Also not feeling too confident about spreads. I'll give you guys 6 money lines for this week. Buccaneers money line against the Bears. Take them. Packers money line against the Falcons. Might be controversial. I don't see it that way. Giants money line against the Cardinals. Let's not overthink this. They're a better team than the Cardinals. 49ers money line against the Rams. They're a better team than the Rams. Let's not overthink it. Katia, I disagree with you. Cowboys, we're getting the win this week. Money line against the Jets. All right, and let's finish up on Monday night. We got the Saints money lined against the Panthers. All right, let's finish up here. Last segment of the show, Survivor. This is the moment of truth here. Who's going to be surviving into week 3? Connor, kick us off. How do you see this one for Survivor this week?
I got the Browns. I wanted to take something a little bit risky, but something I'm confident in, and I can see all the other people's picks that they maybe were a little bit more aggressive on, bust potentially, and see how many are going to be sticking to sticking around for the next week. So I'm right there. But yeah, I think Browns. That's the pick for the week.
They're either the dogs or the elves. I don't know what they are, but we're rolling with both this week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. I actually really like that pick. That's a good pick. I didn't even think about that. I also went risky and I picked the Colts.
All right. So we got some close ones here. So Katia, you're rolling with the Colts. They're 1.5 point dogs actually in this matchup. At Browns, they're favored by 2.5. Connor's rolling with the Browns this week. My moment of truth, do I take the Giants or do I take the Saints for this week in Survivor? Guys, the Giants are a better team than the Cardinals. Let's not overthink this. We're following the birds this week. If it happens, I will not see you in week 3. Let's roll with the G-men on this week. Thank you guys so much for joining Parlay with the G's for this week 2 edition. I'm excited to keep doing this with you all. And hey, best of luck with the picks this weekend.
Let's make some money. Let's go our teams. Let's go. Thanks, Alex.
Cha-ching. Let's go Cowboys. Thanks, Katia.
Let's go Jets.
Go Raiders. See ya.
See ya.
All right.